You join me here today at Lawn Farm Fishery. It's a fishery that I come to quite a lot in the winter months, especially for the silverfish. We've been shooting a feature today. We caught quite a lot of fish, but it has been tricky. It's started to go cold, so I'm going to show you a few tips that I think might be able to help you put more silverfish in the net on commercials in the winter months. The first thing I want to talk about today is the pole rigs I've used and the shotting patterns I've used on them. We're on Willow Lake today, and Willow Lake's actually quite a deep lake. For a commercial it's above average, I would say, so sort of 9 foot on average in the middle. So my pellet rig needs to be quite heavy. Pellets are a positive bait, and you need weight down the line to show the shy and finicky bites. I've gone for a 1 gram float with a wire stem. You need the float to be stable. When you're catching small skimmers, they really, they don't provide much indication on the float, and the line needs to be tight to the hook. So my shotting pattern is a 0.6 Olivet, 4 number 9s below it and 4 number 9 droppers, but they're actually quite close together as far as droppers go to make it a positive rig. I've got a 4-inch hook length to a 16 pellet hook. When fishing the pellets, I do believe that having a tight line is the most important thing. You need to be showing up them little shy indications. The skimmers drop down and they don't move that bait far, so a positive shotting pattern with droppers close together I think is important. So the other rig I want to talk about is the ground bait line rig. I've used a slim body fine tip float, carbon stem. The carbon stem I think is important when you're fishing through the water layers, holding on to the rig. Today we've had to cling onto the rig and really slow the fall down to catch the eyed and roach. They've been very finicky. So that brings me on to the bristle. Because they're finicky, I think it's essential to have a solid bristle on this style of fishing. On my pellet rig I've used a hollow bristle, but sort of roach and eyed, I like the solid bristle. It just shows up bites better and lends itself to loose feeding. The shotting, I've got 11 number 10 shot, tapered bulk style, so at the top here they're very close together, but as we work our way down to the hook they become further and further apart. 0.9 hook length to an 18 F1 fine wire hook. My main line on this rig is 0.13 optimum power. With this style of rig where you're holding it tight and more sort of fine wire fishing, I think a slightly lighter line. On my pellet rig with bigger shot and Olivets, I've gone for an 0.15 optimum power. So that's the two rigs. Obviously this venue's deep, so if your venue that you fish is slightly shallower, obviously just the smaller floats, but the fundamentals are still the same. I think it's important on a pellet rig to fish positive, and if you're fishing through the water, I think it's important that you're clinging on tight to the float and your float matches how you're fishing. The next thing we're going to talk about is elastic choice. Elastic choice is very important for silverfish fishing. they've got soft mouths, and I think choosing the right one is very important. On my pellet line today, I've used some hollow elastic, the MAP 3 to 6. Really nice and forgiving elastic. If I hook something bigger, it gives me the chance of getting it out, so I could even hook carp on this if carp counted and get them out. Better silverfish, bigger roach, bream even. That is my choice for this style. On the strike, it's still very soft, and in 9 foot of water that we've had today, it's still powerful enough to strike into the fish, but it's nice and forgiving and soft and stretches a long way should you hook bigger and better fish. That is I've used onto a bead through my puller kit, and I've got a full top kit of that elastic. On my ground bait line though, I've gone for a solid 5, but I do things a little bit differently with a solid 5, especially when fishing for small fish like eyed and sort of roach and things. I've still used the puller kit, but I've added, I don't know if you can see that, probably 600ml of Dacron. I think it's 15-pound Dacron. And what that gives me is a lot shorter length of solid 5 going through the top kit. What we've had today is we've had eyed and roach sort of 3 to 6 ounce, and I can actually swing them. If it's through the full top kit, I'm really having to stand up and there's elastic and line everywhere. So that just keeps me more efficient, and I don't have to net as many fish. So it just saves me a little bit of time. So give that a try next time you're out. The next tip I'm going to talk about is feeding accurately and fishing past your bait. When you're fishing for silverfish, I think this is absolutely essential. So I'm going to give you an example with my 13-metre section. When I put in my ground bait or pellets or whatever I'm fishing at the beginning of the session, I'll always line up my elbow with the end of the section and feed my bait there. Then when I start my session, normally, not always, but normally I'll add the dolly butt, which is probably 600ml, I'm saying, something like that, 500ml. So you're fishing 500ml past your bait. Them fish, they won't settle over your ground bait or pellets straight away. They take time as the session progresses just to settle over your bait. So you can pick them off as past your feed and over the back of your feed early on. As the session goes on, you can always come back and start fishing where you fed your initial bait, because the fish will be, as they grow in confidence, they'll be over the top of your ground bait. The other thing you can try is taking that dolly out on really hard days and putting a whole another section on. I've known them to be sort of 1.5 metres past your feed. Especially the bigger fish tend to hang off the back. So give this a go. I'm sure it's put more fish in my net over the years, so give it a try. With any type of fishing, getting your setup right is essential. Pole rollers are one of the most important things with silverfish fishing, I think. When you're shipping your pole back, you don't want to be looking behind you. You want a nice big pole roller, big flat surface area. The new MAP dual pole roller, 109 wide, lovely flat surface area for you to aim at. You throw your pole back, it just saves time, saves bumps fish, and ultimately at the end of the match you've got more fish in the net. With these rollers, they're great. They give you 3 different size legs. You've got these little stumpy ones that come with it, so like today I've been fishing on a sort of uphill behind me, so you put the little stumpy legs in. If you're fishing up to a hedge or something silly like that on a canal, you've got the long extending legs, or just the standard leg kit that comes with it for probably 99% of your fishing. So there you go, there's a few tips to help you in your silverfish fishing this winter. Hopefully that'll put a few more fish in your net. Good luck next time you're out. See you on the bank.